Hello and welcome to DMs with PM, the first in the month of December, the last month of the year. I am your host, Oslin Crosby, and it is another interactive, dynamic program that we will be offering you, featuring Prime Minister the Honorable Dickon Mitchell. Let's say welcome to all our listeners and viewers, Facebook, YouTube, on the radio stations, Power FM, Star FM, We FM, GBN, Vibes FM, Fusion FM, GIS, and also all those who are following us, maybe on the various platforms, other platforms that we did not call. So to you, we say welcome, and it's always a pleasure to have you here with us. We do appreciate it. And of course, last week we had the pleasure of having the Honorable Minister Andrews. It was a good program. And now we have back our featured guest, Prime Minister Mitchell. Prime Minister, good evening and welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back, and thank you to Minister Lennox Andrews for doing a wonderful job in his usual unique style last week. And I'm happy to be here again, and I look forward to interacting with the DMs, whether they be from the street or on the phone or via WhatsApp or via the live calls.
Yes, I'm sure it's going to be another interesting program. It is the day after budget. It is the day where we have had so much going on in the region. Democracy is alive. I think we see that. And also it is the start of December. Christmas is coming.
Yes, so it's all happening in December.
It is.
It's December to remember. So we were happy that the Minister of Finance and his team got the opportunity to present the budget on the 1st of December. It's important to emphasize that we're still in the hurricane burial cycle, so to speak. As you recall, on the last occasion, we actually presented the budget in March. So we have been able to, in effect, present two budgets within effectively a 7-month period. Obviously, this one is to cover 2026, and we're happy that we're able to get it done in time, despite the challenges. So I want to start by appreciating the really hard work of the Minister of Finance, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, the Deputy Permanent Secretary, all of the budgeting officers, the Chief Budget Officer, advisor in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Richard Duncan, and others who've done human service in making sure that we can have the budget prepared and have the budget speech presentation done this week. And we look forward to the debates Thursday and Friday for members of the lower house of this week, and for members of the upper house in the Senate, it will be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week. So we want to encourage students, the general public at large, the business community, the trade unions, labor movement, NGOs, civil society to tune in and to pay attention to the debates and also to make their contribution. Recall that the Ministry of Finance would have had extensive stakeholder engagements and consultations leading up to the budget. So it's an opportunity to see whether your engagement helped influence what is presented in the budget, not just the speech or the debates, but the actual numbers, because it's the numbers that tells the story of what the plans and programs are for 2026 and beyond. Okay,
wonderful. I think if there's one thing we can say, DMs also came into the budget. I remember when we were here, one of those weeks when somebody called and asked whether or not there'll be free barrels this year.
Yes.
They remembered.
Yes, well, we have to be responsive to the needs of our citizens. The barrel obviously is a tradition fueled by the presence of the diaspora, and it has always been something that people look forward to. So we're happy to facilitate during the Christmas period the opportunity for our citizens here and in the diaspora to be able to contribute to the economic development and to contribute towards material assistance and to the feeling of Christmas by ensuring that there is some generosity. So it's really for the Christmas period. It ends early in January, so we want to encourage the citizens to take advantage of it. And it's, as you said, a direct example of how if citizens speak up and advocate, there is an opportunity to influence the policy decisions that are made.
Yes, yes. And since we're on Christmas, I don't think that we can leave this topic without us you telling us something about what you enjoy doing around Christmas time. There's always something fun.
Christmas, well, obviously there's a lot of food, black cake, you know, all of what goes with it. But I think the fun part about Christmas is the fact that generally people are in a jovial, happy, generous mood. You know, it's family, it's community, it's parang, cake baking, you know, cleaning the homes, decorations, all of what goes with it. In my prior life, for example, we always look forward to decorating the office because we did so very early because it created that spirit when people walked in. You know, they were happy to see the decorations. It also made them feel happy. So I think it's really one of the happier times of the year, and obviously we want to remind people to also look out for those who may be challenged or less fortunate so that we can also bring some cheer and joy to them as well.
Right, all right. In the spirit of Christmas, though, democracy has shown itself as a light, one of the lights on the Christmas tree. We have seen the colors, we have seen the results, and democracy has spoken. St. Lucia, St. Vincent?
Yeah, so, they said yellow is the code, and red has bounced back.
Red.
But no, I think, first of all, on a serious note, let me congratulate both Prime Minister Friday of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for a historic victory. As we know, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves has been Prime Minister for the last 24 years unbroken. A signature achievement in Caribbean politics. He's a tower of a man, both in terms of intellect, academic, as well as political and legal. And he's made enormous contributions to the development of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Windward and Leeward Islands, and the wider CARICOM region. So we have to obviously salute the significant contribution that Dr. Gonsalves has made, and I'm sure will continue to make. At the same time, there are always beginning and end to eras, and it's the first time that the party being led by Dr. Friday will assume the reins of power. So I want to obviously wish him and his government well, and more importantly, we want to wish the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines well, and it clearly shows that democracy is alive and well in St. Vincent and Grenada. And I always say the transition to power in the Caribbean is swift. It's perhaps the most efficient thing you can find anywhere, even compared to more larger, complex democracies. And to my friend and brother in St. Lucia, I want to congratulate Prime Minister Pierre. Also historic, because the people of St. Lucia in recent times, I think the last 3 or 4 elections have switched the government and the opposition repeatedly. So he has been able to break that trend, but not just break it decisively. So I think it demonstrates that the people of St. Lucia have a confidence in his leadership and confidence in the St. Lucia Labour Party. And they were clearly quite satisfied with their performance, hence they were returned to office resoundingly. So congratulations to them. Congratulations also to Mr. Chastany, because he's obviously retained his seat and will remain leader of the opposition. So without doubt, I think it shows that democracies are alive and well. We've had a very historic 2025. There's been a lot of elections, from Belize to Guyana to Suriname to Trinidad and Tobago to St. Lucia to St. Vincent. So, it all shows that I think, without doubt, that the Caribbean truly is a bastion of representative politics and representative democracy. And as a region, we should be proud of our ability to change or return governments via the ballot box, and that it happens peacefully and efficiently.
Yes, it has been a very interesting year.
Yes.
2025. So we're going to do now, Prime Minister. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be taking in some of your DMs.
It's like the water pure and clean. It's a comfort anytime you need it. It's for everybody, fresh and green. You can count on us, there's nothing like it. It's homegrown. It's island pure. It's homegrown.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you only missed the first part of the program. Prime Minister just commenting on what's happening in the region, budget yesterday, and also Christmas, because that's the season that we are in. It is the second day of December, so we know that the festive season is quickly approaching. But it's time now for us to take in some of your DMs, the messages you have sent us via social media, the media platforms, Facebook, WhatsApp. And our first question is going to be on customer service. Congratulations and thanks to you on the splendid job you are leading in the transformation of Grenada. The issue of boats on the Carenage has taken a new dimension, as seen in the above photograph. There is the long-standing vexing issue of the many boats whose ropes are tied to the sidewalks of the Carenage, which poses the threat of pedestrians tripping. The rope on this boat is like a hangman's noose. That question from Paul Miller.
Thank you, Paul, for the question and really the observation. So I think it's important for me to state this. The Port Authority has the authority and the power, and they've been so authorized by the government to, in fact, begin the process of having the boats move. This is a phenomena that essentially has almost grown out of control, particularly since the passage of COVID-19. We appreciate the fact that obviously the boats need places to be anchored. The Carénage clearly is not the appropriate place. It poses significant risk, as he's identified. It has damaged the sidewalk and the infrastructure. It's pretty unsafe now. It poses risk to pedestrians who are walking on the sidewalk. And there are other ecological and environmental impacts taking place, which is self-evident. We appreciate, obviously, that we want to assist the boatmen in finding an appropriate place where they can take safe harbor, but that's not an excuse for what is going on. So I could certainly say the government's position is the boats need to be moved. We will work with the Ports Authority and with the boat owners to find the appropriate relocation, but this can't continue much longer. So it is something that I think, and I believe the Ports Authority ought to have issued the notices to them already. It also poses risks to navigation. And we can't afford for accidents to happen there. So it is one of the things that we will work on. We will seek to do so collaboratively, but it's not an excuse for people to just continue bringing in their boats and just anchoring them there as they've been doing. So we appreciate that it is posing a serious navigation risk. It is posing a risk to the public, and it has already caused significant ecological damage to a bay that was already challenged in terms of the state of the bay. Even further. So it is something that simply can't continue.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for that question. On to our next question, labor relations, public sector finance. As a security officer at the airport, we were informed that bonuses cannot be paid due to $16 million in debt. This feels unfair to workers. Could you please look into this situation? From Spicy Ginger Paul Mitchell.
All right, so thank you, Spicy Ginger Paul Mitchell. So I don't need to look into the matter. I think I'm in a position to explain the situation. So the union agreements does provide for bonuses to be paid to airport staff when the airport authority makes a profit. Mm-hmm. The information I have is that this year, this has not happened. So it's a pretty straightforward case. You don't pay bonuses if there are no profits. You don't pay profits when you're making losses. I can't speak to the accuracy of whether or not the airport has 60 million in debt. The numbers may not matter, but debt and profitability is not the same thing, mm-hmm. right? So your profit comes from the revenues you made in a particular period, usually a calendar year, and the expenses you've incurred. If your expenses are exceeding your income, it means you're losing money, right? And that's the challenge that the airport faces or would have faced for 2025. And sometimes the way profit is, one year you may be profitable, the next year you may not be profitable. It's also important for us to, I think, appreciate the macro context in which things like airports and ports operate in. The airport can't be profitable if you don't have aircraft coming, if you don't have significant numbers of people taking place, and if we are not able to manage our expenditure. The airport itself, as you would appreciate, would have undergone some significant upgrades in light of its 40-year history, for example, with the runway. That debt was contracted by the central government. The airport itself didn't have the capacity to contract the debt to renovate the runway. We also have a terminal building that is also now in excess of 40 years, and that also has to be completely improved and renovated. The airport itself doesn't have the capacity to address it. And there are other structural issues at the airport, and we have to be honest with staff. We have large percentages of absenteeism. In fact, I'm told sometimes at any given time, it's in excess, for some categories of workers, in excess of 50% of the workers are on sick leave. So when those things are happening, it means you will have productivity issues. You'll have expenditure issues, because it means if people are on sick leave, people are then working overtime. So your wage bill goes up, and you still have to pay those who are on sick leave. And you can't have 50%. It's not, if 50% of your staff are sick, something is wrong. Right? So there are challenges that we have to face. And we have to be honest, and I'm not going to be dishonest. If an entity is not profitable, you can't expect to be paid bonuses or profits. If the entity is profitable, then you are absolutely entitled to say you're profitable. There's no excuse why is it you should not pay, right? But we can't have a situation where you're not profitable, you're making losses, and then you're asking to actually increase your expenses, because that's what the bonuses are, the expenditure that has to go on the books. And it's also important for us to be transparent. The Airports Authority is not a private entity. It's not some private person's business. It's actually an entity that is owned by the state, owned by the public, and things like the financial records, the financial reports and so on are reports that are entitled to be laid before Parliament so that the public can see. So if the entity is making profit in a particular year, the staff should know, and that information should be shared. If you're making losses, the staff should know that information should be shared. So it's important for us to be transparent on those things. It is, and we can't also say that if an entity has to borrow to finance its operations, that's unfair. You either finance your operations from the revenue you collect, and if you don't have the revenue, then yes, you are going to have to borrow. When you borrow, the interest rates and the expense of borrowing is added to your balance sheet as an expenditure, because you need to repay your bank or your credit union or whoever it is. And we also have to remember that the airport would have been one of the institutions most severely impacted by COVID-19. Right? And so when those things happen, you may be profitable for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And then in 1 year, the losses could be so significant that it wipes out all of your savings, all of your profits, when you have a situation where there's a complete shutdown of the island and no travel and so on. So you have to remember and factor those things in as well. And finally, this is important. We appreciate at Christmas time everybody wants a bonus or some sort of profit share. But we always need to think long term. And in my view, we should always go for security over just the emotional high, right? Because if we engage in behaviors that makes an entity more unprofitable, and that continues, then it's not just bonuses that's going to be at stake. Jobs will be at stake. The survivability of the entity will be at stake. So we have to bear that in mind as well.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for the question. Now on to the next question: employment and tourism and hospitality. With over 15 years of experience locally and internationally, why do skilled Grenadians often get overlooked for senior hotel positions, while work permits are granted to foreign nationals who sometimes mistreat local staff? This question there from Sugar Boy Mark.
Well, I can't personally answer the question in the sense that obviously I'm not a hotelier. I know for a fact that we, certainly from a government perspective, are very concerned with ensuring that more Grenadians get, in fact, management and supervision level jobs, the better paying jobs within the hotel sector. And I certainly would hope that our hoteliers, if they find Grenadian talent, will nurture, support, encourage, train and retain the talent, because it's actually cheaper than having to import labor, having to house people, having to deal with the cultural acclimatization, the work permits, and those sort of things. So I could certainly say that the work permit department actually is quite tough work permits are not granted simply because people ask for it. And in fact, a lot of the business community complain about the work permit department in terms of the speed or whether there's too much scrutiny, etc. But I think it's important for us as Grenadians to also appreciate that we have to be productive and that our attitude to work has to improve. It's one of the challenges we face. And that sometimes the reason people go for non-Grenadian or foreign workers is because their attitudes are better. Their work ethic is better. They're punctual, they're on time. They take control of the situation and they deliver, and sometimes we don't. We're laid back, we're casual, and then we expect to progress. So we have to appreciate that if you're working hard, if you are qualified, then I agree absolutely. There should be no reason why hoteliers should not be looking to employ you and to give you the opportunities for the more senior jobs if you're qualified for it.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think that person raised a bigger sore that we have, a crisis that we have on production here in Grenada.
Well, we have to have an open conversation. I think I'm probably doing what the business community talks about in private, which is certainly many of them share that they have serious concerns about our culture to work and our work ethic. It is something I also have concerns about. We have to appreciate, and I say this repeatedly, you cannot become successful if you don't work hard. There's just no way around it. And whether you're working hard is not merely something that you measure. Other people have to measure whether you're working hard as well. So sometimes we think we're working hard and we're not, right? Those things are things we have to pay attention to. And how we plan our work, how we prepare for work. Those things matter as well in terms of our productivity. Are we constantly improving our skills? Are we learning new ways of accomplishing the task? Are we learning new technologies? Because you also have to work smart. So that's part of what I think as a nation we have to address in our discourse, in our discussions, in our education system, in the training that happens, because employers also sometimes are at fault for not training staff and giving them the opportunity to train and to improve and exposing them and to treating the staff as part of the family. And they simply rely on the fact, well, you come to work and you're expected to know the job, but if you don't train people and if you don't give them the tools and the equipment, then they wouldn't be able to deliver. So it's a holistic approach that we all have to take, but absolutely our productivity has to improve on the island.
Totally agree. Thank you, Prime Minister. On to our next question. Volunteerism, diaspora engagement. Are there opportunities for volunteers from abroad to offer services or support government initiatives, including during your campaign? Question from Anita Edwards.
Yes, Anita, there are ample opportunities. I don't know if the campaign here means political campaign or if the campaign means, government campaigns on anything. But absolutely, I mean, I could just simply take, initiatives like when the government, let's say, independence, or when we have large forums like the Afrexim Bank, just having volunteers who are prepared to engage in protocol or ushering, we need volunteers for that. But whether it's statutory bodies, whether it's returning during the period that you're here to offer assistance in social work, in community work, in literacy classes in our schools, there are ample opportunities. Remember, you have clubs like the Rotary clubs, you have other NGOs and so on that are always looking to do social work and community work and nation building. So, whether it's civil society through the churches or through engaging directly with MPs at their offices, there are opportunities for people to volunteer and do a lot of work in our communities. So the answer is yes. It depends on your field of interest, and then we can decide how we can help. So if the person wants to follow up, I think we have their number. We can always ask them, are there particular areas of interest? And then from there, we can channel them in the right direction.
All right, great. Thank you, Prime Minister. On to our next question. Governance, national development planning. Is there a clear national development plan outlining long-term goals beyond election cycles? If so, is it publicly accessible, and has it been discussed with the opposition and national stakeholders to ensure continuity regardless of which party is in power? Question from Marcus M.G. Andel.
Yes, Mr. Andel, there is the National Sustainable Development Plan 2035. That plan was actually developed when the new National Party was in office. It was a collaborative effort by both government and opposition and civil society. The plan is available in electronic and in hard copy. I'm happy to share a copy with you. In addition, and so yes, the plan transcends governments. It has nothing to do with election cycles. It is extremely detailed. It has contributions from introductory remarks from our existing Governor General, from our former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, and a host of other stakeholders, very detailed in terms of some of the sectors that we need to address. And many of the things that we are pursuing as the government come directly out of the National Sustainable Development Plan, or Vision 75, which I articulated at our 50th anniversary of independence, to a large extent is based on and steeped on the National Sustainable Development Plan, which set targets for 2035. Now, 2035 is 10 years away. The Vision 75 back in 2004 was meant to project where Grenada needs to be 25 years from now and what are some of the foundational issues that we need to address. So from energy to our sense of who we are, to our healthcare, to the education system, because some of those things will not change overnight, given that in many instances you're running up against hundreds of years. So for Mr. Andel, if you need a copy of the plan, we'll be happy to share it. But it's a good point. I think that it probably means there needs to be a lot more public education and awareness about the plan, partly because, when it was conceived and concluded was also around COVID-19. In fact, the plan even envisages legislation to sort of give teeth to the plan, to make it, in a sense, more difficult, so to speak, for it to be cast aside or thrown out. And it is something that we are still looking at enacting to make sure that we can support that in conjunction with Vision 75 by having the legislation in place to support the plan, so that, if we agree that energy transition, cheaper energy cost is something we must do, that the policy should follow that, and no government could simply come and decide that we're casting it away without at least going back to Parliament and changing. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for that question. On to another question. Traffic management, transportation. I have an idea to help reduce traffic congestion. Families with multiple vehicles could alternate driving days based on the last digit of their license plate. odd or even numbers. Additionally, promoting carpooling could help reduce the number of vehicles on the road. That's a question, or rather suggestion there from Marlin Gilbert.
Sure, thank you, Marilyn, for the suggestion. I completely agree with some of this. I mean, the truth is our infrastructure simply cannot continue handling the volume of vehicles that are here. And in addition to carpooling, in addition to issues like whether limiting the number of cars people can have, people would say things to me when I raise issues like, we are going to get to the point where we limit the number of vehicles that a household could have, or people wouldn't stand for that. I'm like, well, what does that mean? People are not irrational. If you have a vehicle and then you simply sit in it and you go nowhere, what's the point of having the car, right? If, as is becoming the case, it is easier to walk Grandlands and get to where you're going than get in a vehicle, then it's just a matter of time before you will find yourself walking. So, the laws of nature don't change simply because you choose to ignore them. So if we don't limit the volume of traffic on the road, we will simply be going nowhere. And it will destroy the island, right? So all of the things we hold dearly to our heart are going to be no more in rapid time. So, and what's a vehicle? It's a means to an end. If you define yourself by the vehicle you have or the value of the car you have, then, we have challenges. So a vehicle is a conveyance. How you get from point A to point B is really what vehicles are meant to do. And the environment or ecology or roads simply has a carrying capacity. And the cost of maintaining the roads, the cost of rebuilding them is also something that we have to pay for as taxpayers. So we have to get to the point where we can be honest and sensible enough to start having those discussions and also doing other things like addressing the public transportation system and so on. But in the meantime, short-term measures like the carpooling, maybe alternate days when people are allowed to drive or not drive. There are other places where you have to pay a lot of money to move from point A to point B. If you want to go into cities and so on where there's a lot of congestion or where they're trying to minimize pollution and so on, they charge you a lot of money to do so, especially if there's public transportation that you can use. So I'm hoping that we could, with education, dialogue and consensus, come to start addressing those issues rather than having to always legislate it and enforce it. But if it comes to that, we will have to do so.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. On to another question. Customer service. I have an idea to help reduce, I think that's the one we just did. Okay, so that will conclude our questions for this section. Prime Minister, traffic, it will continue to be, and you are right about that part, because I think now it makes a lot more sense walking. But I guess it would, if we look at it on the alternate side, we get the health back.
Absolutely.
Activity.
I mean, human beings were meant to walk. That's at a minimum. And the challenges we face in Grenada with our healthcare are almost entirely self-inflicted.
Inactivity.
Right? Inactivity, malnutrition, because we're eating a lot of sugar, salt, and starch, which is essentially poor diet of choice. And those two things, with the sugar, with alcohol, are combined to create the diabetes, the high blood pressure, which fuel most of the issues we have, the cancers, the cardiac and heart disease, the strokes, etc. So when you see people, who are amputated, it's preventable. When you see people who are overweight, it's preventable. And this notion about it's genetic and this sort of thing is just an excuse, right? So, the truth is there are far more obese people in Grenada today than there were in the 70s and 80s because we were far more active then. So, unfortunately, we sometimes have to, you see, when you imitate or adopt lifestyles, either unwittingly or it's imposed upon you, sometimes you have to go through cycles where you understand the consequences of it before you then start reversing and recognizing that your own culture, your own way of life has values and oftentimes is more valuable than what has been sold to you as better. So the developed lifestyle of convenience and comfort is the fastest route to ill health because it's obesity, it's non-communicable diseases, and ultimately it's poverty because you simply wouldn't have the money to care for your health and you wouldn't have the money to be productive. And that's one of the challenges we're facing, not just in Grenada. It's a Caribbean epidemic, and it's one of the things that we have to be able to reverse. So if we don't appreciate that our diet and so on matters, that activity matters, that walking matters, right? And we continue to adopt cultures that people themselves who once did it are moving away from, recognizing the bad impacts it has had on their societies, then we will continue to face this challenge. But that aside, the traffic is obviously a major concern. And obviously, when you have to do things like the infrastructure work we do now with the pipeline and so on, it becomes even more difficult.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Prime Minister. We are going to take a break now. When we come back, we take in some DMs from the street with Norris.
Hi, my name is Daniela Christopher, and I'm a resident of Telescope. And I'm just here to talk about all the good work that David Andrew has been doing. We are very pleased with the work that he's doing because a lot of things was neglected for a lot of years. And now he's just opening our eyes to see what a real government could do for their people. So first of all, I want to talk about the road that's leading by the Telescope School. This road was dilapidated for a number of years, and now it is fixed. I think it's over 840 feet of road, and it's all done just for the convenience of the people of Telescope. So where I live, this piece of road was there for eons. Every time an election was coming, they would do a little piece and leave it, do a little piece and leave it. But when Mr. Andrew came in, he did the entire road. He did the slipper drain to go right down to the junction. So I'm very pleased with that. This road is located in the back of SAS School. Also, he was instrumental in bringing the WASH program to Telescope and Small Bay. So many people got bathroom and toilet, and we are very pleased with that because we know once you have bathroom and toilet, you think a little highly of yourself and you appreciate that. So we are very pleased with that. There are so many other programs that I know of. People are getting materials to build houses. People are getting materials to help them in other areas. So we are very pleased about that. Even as the Minister of Education, I am extremely pleased with all the progress that are being made. Lots of our children in Telescope who are going to TAMCC, who are going to NULO, they have free tuition now. So I'm very pleased because my son is in Form 2 and he will benefit from a free laptop. So I'm extremely pleased with that. Overall, Mr. Andrew is doing a very good job, and I'll be very pleased to see him as the next MP of St. Andrew Southeast. Correction, he will be the next MP of St. Andrew Southeast. And how can I possibly forget that we got Progress Park light up? After all these years, we got Progress Park light up. And also, if you look behind me, Telescope is lighted as well. So thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate it so much. So things are definitely happening in St. Andrew Southeast.
We're moving forward, forward, forward. Move the country forward, forward, forward. With NDC forward, forward, forward.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here with us. We're at the halfway mark. So it's now time for us to go over to Norris so that we can take in some of the DMs from the streets.
Welcome back, beautiful people, to another amazing edition of DMs with PM. Budgets have just concluded. That's the 2026 budget have just concluded. And we are outside of the parliament getting some DMs from the people that matter. Good afternoon. My name is Norris. What's your name?
I'm Gino.
All right. Well, ask the Prime Minister your question.
All right. My question to the Prime Minister is, how do you manage run the country and spend time with the family and being able to get rest and just overall, like being able to stay in shape at the same time?
Well, thank you for the question. It's an interesting question. It's not an easy thing to do. I wouldn't pretend that it's easy, but you have to find ways to exercise. That's actually the biggest challenge that I have, making the time to exercise, because if you're not fit, if you're not healthy, the rest of the job becomes pretty difficult. So it means trying to exercise usually in the morning, because that's probably the time when people are least demanding of your time. Once you get past 8 o'clock in the morning, then the day tends not to be yours and everybody wants your time and your attention. So that's a challenge. But it's also important to remember, I think this is one of the things I want to emphasize about politics. We have to professionalize politics. It's a job. It's a job you want to do well. It's a job you need to be prepared for. It's a job that you need skill set for. And then you need to do the job. Now, the nature of the job is that you have to be validated every 5 or 4 years. If you're validated and it's successful, you continue. If the validation is not, you should be able to move on without feeling bitter and angry and upset with yourself. And the reason I say this is because ultimately, if you sacrifice your family for this job, and I think any job, you'd be making a grave mistake. Because I recall once wife of a politician saying to me, she told her husband, I'm sure if you're lying on your deathbed, you wouldn't be saying, I wish I spent more time being a politician. You'd more likely say, I wish I spent more time with my family. So you have to find the balance between the job, the demands of the job, and your health, and making sure that your family and the people who are important to you get time. I'm not so sure I'm the best example of that, having said all of that. But you have to keep that in mind and to try as much as possible as to live to that expectation.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. Norris, we go back to you for another question.
Honorable Prime Minister, the burning question for us in the farming community is a simple one. We need more farm roads. We want to identify a series of farm roads, and not roads with concrete and with pitch. We're talking about grading and drainage. We really need about 20 roads being done in 2026. Can you deliver that to us in the farming community? Thank you.
Well, Senator Sinclair, I've sat up to respond to that one. I certainly think we would be in a position to attempt so. I noticed you said not concrete roads. The Minister of Finance would have read out in the budget that we are working with the Caribbean Development Bank to seek to do 8 farm roads. That does mean, in fact, pitching or concreting the roads. But I hear you saying that you're not asking for concrete or pitch. What you're asking for is, in fact, I guess what may be called base course with drains. If that's the case, then I certainly think the Minister for Agriculture and myself as the Minister for Infrastructure would be prepared to work with the farmers once you identify those roads and see what we can do, particularly in the first half of the year, the dry season, if it is a dry season, to be able to deliver those. But we would need to know the roads. We need to get a sense of where these roads are. I'm not so sure if in the consultation process that was brought forward to the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Infrastructure or the Ministry of Finance, but now that you've raised it pointedly after the budget presentation, we will certainly see what can be done.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Senator Sinclair, for that question. We go back to Norris.
All right, my name is Norris Francois. Welcome to DMs on the Streets. What's your name?
My name is Joy Limbarry.
All right.
Nice speaking to you. I'm from Granans Valley.
Okay.
I'm down south. My MP is Andy Williams.
All right.
And he's doing a good work.
All right, so ask your question to the Prime Minister.
My Prime Minister, good afternoon. I'd like to know when you are coming to Granans Valley to give us a little lecture of what you've done for the country. We know you are doing good work, but we love to see you in the valley. If it's not pass by, give a notice that you're coming to the valley. We love to see you in the valley. We always seen Andy. Yes, we know you there, but we love to see you in the valley. That is the only problem. We love you, but we want to see you in the valley. And it's coming from Joy Lane.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Jordan. It's good to see you. You are looking lovely, and I will see you in the valley shortly. I will certainly let the community know when I'm coming. I will commit to see if I can do so that by the next time I am on DMs with PM, that I can make good on this commitment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Ms. Barry, for your question. We go back to Norris.
Hi, my name is Nazai Voke. I'm from South St. George Government School. The question I have to ask is if Spelling program can be brought back to Grenada.
Yes, I see no reason why it should not be brought back to Grenada. In fact, I believe the last time I saw, or I actually witnessed a spelling bee competition, my son was taking part in it. And his teacher at the time is now well placed in the Ministry of Education to be in a position to encourage the ministry to, in fact, to have the spelling bee competition. So I will be honest and say I don't know or have first-hand knowledge as to whether or not it's going on. I assume from the comment that it is not, and if it is not going on, I will certainly encourage the Minister of Education and his team to bring it back. If not immediately in 2026, by the time we get into the new school term in September of 2026. So thank you for doing so, for bringing the matter to my attention.
Right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, young one, there for that question. We do have another question from Norris.
My name is Unique Roberts, and I attend the Wester Hall Secondary School. I would like to ask how many scholarships will be available for the 2026 graduation classes?
Well, thank you for the question. I can't give you a number as to how many scholarships will be available definitively. That information can be obtained from the scholarship desk at the Ministry of Education. And the numbers tend not to be fixed because there are local government scholarships, there are scholarships from our regional partners from places like Morocco, Mexico, etc., Cuba, other countries that have, China that have offered scholarships for students. So if you call the scholarship desk or if you go in, I know they're also working on moving a lot of the information online. You'd be able to find that information out.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Zanique, for your question. And that's where we conclude DMs from the street. We're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we will be opening up the lines. Remember the number 423-3104. You can call in and ask your questions directly to Prime Minister Mitchell. We'll be back shortly.
Cinnamon, one of the signature designs of Project 500. This 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home spans 1,122 square feet, crafted for sustainable and modern living. The design features efficiency in wall, windows, and roof, engineered to reduce your overall electrical consumption by minimizing heat buildup. A cooler building on those hot days. Inside, you'll find low-flow plumbing fixtures, which reduces water usage. Efficiency without sacrifices. With 3 spacious bedrooms, this design offers a retreat for all members of the family. With an open floor plan comprising of dining, living, kitchen, dedicated laundry, utility closet, water storage, solar panel, and parking for 2. And an area for outdoor home gardening. The Cinnamon balances functionality and style. At Project 500 is more than just building homes. It's about developing sustainable communities and delivering quality homes for all families.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. We're now down to our final just over 15 minutes as we take in your live calls. So we go over to the line. I do believe we have a call online. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling.
Yes, good evening. My name is Cole. PM supposed to know. Good afternoon to you, Mr. PM. My question to you, Mr. PM, is that our last conversation that we had was in your office in Pedmotor. And you promised you'd have called me back for us to have a discussion following up some issues. I never heard from you, but I understand you are very busy at this point in time. But I'm hoping that we could sit down together and discuss the issue we are having. Now, I also, like you had spoke to the bank pertaining for the loan, which they did approve. But the problem I'm having with the bank is that for a small business trying to move along, the interest rate is very ridiculous, 8.25% for a pig farmer who just trying to move along. And I think we should address that so we could accommodate farmers if they want to move along in their business. Now, another issue I want to find out about that the pigs distribution, which they did. Now, what I'm concerned about, the people who did the survey went around and checked for the pigs. I didn't think they do a good job because based on my understanding, they gave people who have like 6, 7 sows, 10 sows, they distribute the pigs to them. And people who have, like me, I have 140 something pigs, which I didn't even get the opportunity to have a bow. But if we do want to do rapid breeding, I think we should have gone to the people who have more pigs so the breeding process could be much larger. And also, the people who are doing the vetting, they should have not only just give these people, but they should come back to you so the final decision in yours should be discussed. I don't know if you had seen the review what they come back with. But at the same time, they didn't do a good job, really and truly. Because if we want to do this thing at a rapid pace, we had to go with people who have large quantities. Because it's not experience, but it's passion. Because a man who has all his experience and having 6 and 10 cows, and a man who have not as much experience as them having 143. There's a big difference. So we should sit down and consider all these things. I mean, I love the way that the new initiative that you're bringing along. It's very impressive, and we should work with it. I like it. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you've done for me, and I'd just like to meet you so we could sit down and discuss it. Thank you very much. Oh, now one more question. The people in the office, something I don't like when you go to the office. You walk into the office and you want to meet the PM. The people is, what do you want to talk to him about? I think this is a turn off. You should be glad that people come in to meet the PM. Whatever the PM and the people want to discuss, they discuss. Some of them might just want to come in to see you, just to feel happy. You don't know what his motive are, but, you know, at least this is something we should address. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
All right.
Thank you, caller.
So thank you. I think the issue of the pigs distribution and how we scale up I would use the word here, livestock pig industry is, and I think the points you've made are genuine points. I actually share some of the concerns because one of the challenges I think we face with is our data collection in government, and in this particular case in the Ministry of Agriculture. If we keep doing the same things, we will get the same results. Who is a pig farmer today may not be a pig farmer tomorrow. And there are lots of persons who've gotten into the pig farming industry who may not actually be in the ministry's database. So I think we have to make sure that the data collection is important, because from listening to you and from knowing the hard work that you've put in terms of trying to build your pig farm and seeking financing from local domestic institutions to support that initiative, if you were not contacted by the Ministry of Agriculture, it probably means they're not aware of that. And therefore we have to make sure that the ministry has the right data and that it can work with the farmers, to your point, that is actually looking to scale. Because the only way we can drive the unit cost or the price down of things like chicken or poultry is to produce more. And the more you're able to produce using the same resources, then is the lower the unit cost. So I agree with you, and this is something we would look into. I believe the Minister of Agriculture had indicated to me that there is some funding available to provide support with even things like pens and so on for some of the farmers. So I would recommend, and I think this is important, and I want to appreciate that, because I don't want people to get fatigued or to become wary, but success is not easy. Success is not coming and speak to the Prime Minister and then with a magic wand, everything happens. There are ministries, there are people who are paid to do jobs, there are paid extension officers, there are paid people who are there, and you have to go and speak with them. Sometimes you may think it's easier to come to the Prime Minister first or come to his office, but we still have to go through the process. We still have to go through the channels, and as wary and as taxing as you might think it is, we still have to do it. And therefore, if you have not, I would certainly urge you to make sure that your name is in the Ministry of Agriculture, that they're aware of what you're doing, that you invite the extension officers to come. If they don't come, then I have no difficulty getting involved. So in this case, and I know, for example, I think SIPE worked with you in terms of getting the road to the pig farm and those kinds of things. So I want to encourage you, if you have not, to make sure that you go into the Ministry of Agriculture, you register your interest, you let them know where you are, what you've done, and so that they can help support you in this initiative. On the question of the interest rates, I mean, that is a matter for discussion. As the Prime Minister, I can't tell the banks what rate to set. If it's a development bank, we may have some influence over this, but I want people to appreciate something. Business requires profit. Lending money has a cost to it, and that cost is the interest rates. Of course, the lower the interest rates, the better for the customer. The higher the interest rate, the better for the bank. You have to find the sweet middle where the customer is successful and can repay the bank, and then the bank can also be successful. But yes, 8.75 to my mind sounds like, in this day and age, a challenging interest rate, no doubt about that, especially if we're talking about supporting things like agriculture and supporting domestic production of livestock so that we can help with food security. So that is something that I think we can have a discussion from a policy point of view to see how we can support that. I, however, completely disagree with the question of when you visit the MP's office and you are treating with the staff that people should not say why they're coming to see the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is an individual who holds the office of Prime Minister. You are not here to see me in my private capacity. I'm not practicing law or medicine. I'm not a counselor. I'm a public officer by virtue of that office. All of the resources that office has comes from taxpayers. the public. So I too have to be able to account for the decisions I make and the resources. And yes, if it is you coming to see me just to say, you can tell the staff that. They will allow you to see me. But the fact is, most people are coming to ask for some form of help, assistance, or guidance. If it's help or assistance, it is public money. It is either taxpayers who are paying it, it is either a friendly country who are donating it, or it is some philanthropic person who are donating to the cause. So oftentimes, for you to get the help, somebody other than the Prime Minister actually has to help you. The staff in the office, the staff in the ministry, a doctor, a nurse, a police officer. You have to go somewhere after you speak to me. Somebody has to do something. So whatever you tell me, it is recorded and it still has to be passed on to someone. So if someone is simply coming to find out, for example, how can I apply for a house with the Housing Authority? The staff has that information. They could give you that information right away. They can make your life a lot easier. I'd be happy to see you nonetheless. But it makes the process a lot more efficient because if you then come to see me, I still have to bring you back outside, say to the staff what the person wants is how to apply. So can you give them the application form, etc. So we have to appreciate something. I appreciate that our politics is personal. I appreciate that we want the one-on-one interaction, but the actual delivery of services must be done through others. And the public needs to understand that. When you go to the doctor and they tell you you have to pay the money to the assistant, and the assistant has to take your blood and take your whatever the case is, you don't tell them no. I must see the doctor. Only the doctor could draw my blood. Or only the doctor could take my weight. Because you recognize for the doctor to be efficient, there are certain things that the staff must do. And it is the same with public office. So I think it's part of the learning we need to understand. The staff don't want to know your business. But they are working in a public office. They too have to account. Right? They too have to be able to follow up. I'm just an individual. I see 30, 40, 50, 60 people sometimes a day. Ask yourself how one person is going to respond to the needs of 30, 40, 50, 60 people a day. It simply cannot happen. So we have to appreciate that. So yes, I've heard this cry over and over, but I will say that I disagree with it. If you come into a public office and the staff is asking basic information like your name, your address, your phone number, what is the basic concern you have, they are doing so because they could also guide me. If it's housing, they could prep me to say it will be a housing question. If it is some other issue, so people a lot of times will say they don't want to say. But as I said, if you want counseling, yes, I may be able to give a little counseling, a little guidance, but I'm not a counselor, right? You know, I'm not a priest, right? You know, I'm not a doctor. I'm a public official, and therefore sometimes you have to disclose to others what the concern or the cause is so that they can help guide you, they can help guide me, because I don't know everything. And we need to be able to ensure that those things happen. Because remember, if the complaint is about the interest rate at GDB, I still have to call somebody in GDB. They have to call the chairman. They have to have a conversation. They have to call the Ministry of Finance. So it's to help me be more efficient and more effective at the job, which is why the staff is asking for information. And the same happens to all of the MPs' offices across Grenada. They're not trying to prevent you from seeing me. They just want to make sure that they could be more efficient at their job.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, caller, for those questions. I just want to remind our callers, we're now down on the 7 minutes before we wrap up the program. Please try to limit your questions, keep them as short and as concise as possible so that we can get to as many as we can. I do believe we have another call online. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for your patience.
Hi, good evening, host.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. PM. I do not have a question. I just wanted to make you smile. I wanted to let you know that you're wearing my favorite color and that you're looking handsome like always. You have a wonderful evening.
Well, thank you very much. I think you've not just made me smile, you've made everyone in the studio smile. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. We do appreciate that icebreaker there. We do have another call online. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. PM. And good afternoon, Oslin. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I have just a suggestion for the PM. What plans we have for the bus services, the transportation service?
Okay, so let me try and answer in a short space of time as possible. So we have the Transport Commission. The first thing we are trying to do is to have the bus terminals vested in the Transport Commission. The public may not be aware, but for example, the bus terminal at Melville Street is actually owned by the Grenada Port Authority. As you're aware, the Port Authority is really focused on ports, not on inward land transportation. So Cabinet has approved the vesting of the Grenville bus terminus, the St. George's bus terminus, and I think St. Patrick into the Transport Commission. What we then want to be able to do is to improve the physical amenities and the facilities there. That's to start with. In many instances, for example, in St. Patrick, it is pretty bad. So that's point one. The second point is we've been having extensive discussions with the Bus Owners Association. I'm not sure if the caller is aware, but we are actually subsidizing the bus owners right now by providing a fuel rebate for them because they had asked for an increase in the bus prices. We said to them we did not think the public could afford the price increase at this time, notwithstanding that the prices have not increased for a very long time. So as a compromise, we agreed to offer a rebate on fuel, and also we've been working with them to try and deal with a rebate on parts. That has been proven to be a little more challenging. In the medium to long term, we have sought to encourage the bus owners to incorporate into a cooperative because there are certain inevitable things they will face. The types of buses that we are using in Grenada are already obsolete. They're too small and they rely on fuel. Less and less manufacturers are making these types of buses. We want to be able to transition to a green fleet. We are currently and have agreement in place from the government of China to provide through grant funding some electric buses to us as a start. The government doesn't want to operate these buses. We want to be in a position where we can have a corporation that can provide the service to the public. We need to move away from individual bus owners to a cooperative or corporation type environment where the corporation owns the buses, employs the drivers, and the service can be provided to the public in a manner that is regulated. Now, it's either we can persuade the bus owners, other stakeholders, and one of the major stakeholders we will be engaging on this is the labor unions, the credit unions, because we believe that it's an industry that provides an opportunity for the trade unions, the labor unions, the credit unions, and their workers to own the transportation sector in Grenada. The Singapore model is a perfect example of this. They did this many decades ago, and it has gone on to be very, very successful. And I'm saying this because even if we get the 20 or 30 buses, if we can't have that partner and that stakeholder that I'm talking about, it means what? The government is going to have to be forced to go and hire drivers to run these buses and to provide bus transportation. It's not a model that the government wants to go down the road in. And if we have to, it will probably be limited to school children only, right, because of that need. So, but it is something that will require trust. It will be something that will require people to be creative, because if not, the public transportation system will fail. It is already, in a sense, limping along because we are at a crossroads. If we don't grant the fuel rebate or the fuel subsidies, the busmen are going to want higher prices. If they want higher prices and the public can't afford it, then they themselves are going to fail, right? If you have higher prices, less and less people are going to be able to get to work and to move, and therefore the economy is going to suffer a lot. So it is part of that challenge that we have to deal with in terms of a plan over the next 2 to 3 years to be able to address this. But we will obviously need the partnership. We will lead in terms of the engagements, the consultations, the support from the government, but the actual service itself, we want to ensure that it's the private sector that provides that. And as I said, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for credit unions, trade unions, and their membership to be able to own a strategic infrastructure asset in Grenada and provide the service in a profitable manner, but also that keeps the price affordable because it will be their members who are benefiting from it. So I could think of no better scenario for a cooperative than the transport sector with government support.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, caller, for that question. We will be taking in our final caller now. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening. You're in?
Hi, good evening. Yes, we are.
Hi, good evening to you, Madam, and also the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, this is Randy calling. I'm in Grenada, but you know, I'm from Montreal, which we just had a nice town hall meeting with the Minister from St. Patrick West, Mr. Joseph Andal. Now, the people of Montreal really wants to know, when are you planning to visit us in Montreal? It's over close to 3.5 years that we haven't seen you, and the people of there really, really would like for you to pay us a visit to meet the Grenadians up in Montreal. So can you give us some hopes? So when I go back to Montreal, I could tell the people, well, He will be coming soon, maybe in April, May, after the winter. So that's my question to you. Thank you.
Yes, you can certainly give them the hope that I will be coming. I am not in a position to give the definitive month, but I have committed to visiting the diaspora in Montreal, and I will certainly endeavor to do so in 2026.
All right.
God's willing.
Thank you, Prime Minister. It is exactly 7 o'clock. It was another great program. Thank you for always being here. I'm sure the people, well, they look forward to for you being here so that they can ask you the questions. Any closing, parting words?
Well, I want to, as we approach the Yuletide season, begin the process of wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and best wishes for 2026. I want us to remember that, the spirit of Christmas is about sharing. It's about compromise. It's about making sure that we can work together. And sometimes, yes, putting the interests of others above ourselves as we continue to try and serve our communities. Certainly as the Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for St. David, I look forward to a Christmas toy distribution and parties with the children, our engagement with our senior citizens and so on, so that we can also share some joy and some merriment and some Christ light with them. So I hope that everyone can have a peaceful and safe Christmas season.
Right. Thank you, Prime Minister. I like that you opened up the month just like that, so we'll be ending great.
Yes.
So that's where we conclude for today. On behalf of you, the viewers, all those listening and viewing, thank you for always being here with us. We do appreciate you. The production team, thank you for always ensuring that we have a successful program. Thank you to all our listeners, those on the various radio stations, Power, Star, WeFM, GBN, Fusion, Vibes FM, YouTube or Facebook, viewers, and on GIS. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I am your host, Oslin Crosby. We want to say so long. We see you next week, Tuesday, when we do this again, DMs with PM.